pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the B3 podcast. I'm your host, Brett. I got Chris, the artist formerly known as Heavy C. I got Multiple Injuries, Matt, and Tanner the Head. We have our show partners, Elite Nutrition. Check them out at elitenutritionomaha.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off. Go to the store in Omaha or Lincoln. Yell B3.
Get a free shaker.
We also have Rosewood Block. They make the best cutting boards and barbecue. They're fully customizable. Check them out at rosewoodblock.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off there also. We have Omaha Barbell, the real Midwest mecca of strength, where nothing's free except good times until your monthly payments due.
Yep.
Don't worry. It's auto-renewed.
Yeah,
So,
you can set up auto-renew, so the fun never stops.
Unless you don't have any
It
money
just
in your
feels
account.
free.
Yeah, the fun never stops as long as your payment goes through.
Yes.
don't ever let a card expire or Brett will tell you you're a scumbag.
Yes. Also, if you like or dislike what we're doing, go follow us on YouTube.
True.
Be great. You can follow us on this video if you're watching on YouTube.
Click right.
Over by Tanner. Yeah. Yep. They click the little YouTube link right there.
Perfect.
Yeah. We'd love to.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah. Right over here and then like there. Click it.
you gotta look into the camera.
What's that, bop it?
Well, yeah, help us out. Go subscribe, like, follow, share. We put up some good little shorts too. Also, you can just listen to us on all the audio platforms if you don't want to look at our faces, which is understandable.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
If you want to see some shorts, make sure you tell Brett or comment on the videos so we can
We've been getting some more shorts out there.
do whatever video you want.
All of us need to work on our listening faces. Because none of us have a good listening face. We all have a listening face that says,
It's hard.
I don't know what's happening right now.
I had another person say that Matt looks like Shane Gillis.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to be like,
But I don't.
Just stare with your eyes wide open.
We all look like we want to be somewhere
We're
else.
just waiting. We're just waiting for the other person to stop talking.
You're
that's
like
exactly-
you're like mouth open, drool coming out. Like
most of the time I'm holding on to a thought and I'm like, all right.
Dude, that's where I'm
waiting
at
for
too.
my
Like, don't
moment.
forget
I'm
what
waiting
you're
for
gonna say.
I'm waiting for my moment. Oh, fuck.
And then Matt's talking last time on the last short, and then it just goes to Brett at the end like this. Like we all suck.
Just a look
at
of
our,
dad's disappointment.
yeah, our listening faces.
I get it. Like I get it.
That's part of the joy of the show. It really is.
Yeah. Plus, when you got old Switzerland over here and you're talking about conspiracy theories.
Oh God, he was so boring. I listened to that again. And he was boring. He was more boring the second time through.
You're welcome.
I haven't listened to it. I know that's surprising, but maybe I'll check it out.
I was like, Matt, what's your conspiracy theories? None.
No.
What motivates? What motivates you? Nothing.
Everybody's got a conspiracy theory. You have to have a conspiracy theory.
Maybe I can't think of any. Like, there's none that I'm like. Fuck.
You're not
yeah,
trying to go to
definitely
sleep at
believe.
night and you're like, man, I wonder if that's true. That doesn't ever happen to you? Really? I think about random shit when I'm trying to like make myself sleep, and I'm like, sitting there thinking
I
about.
went to bed last night thinking.
Did we
about
really
how
land
I
on the
could
moon?
make my ChatGPT AI better at helping me with my barbecue.
With your barbecue.
Barbecue, yeah. So I never wrote down recipes.
Oh, I don't
just
ever
look at-
either, yeah.
and I just never do them. But then I'd have some that turned out really well, and I'm like, all right, what did I do last time? Fuck. I
that
don't
is the
remember.
worst. That is one
It
of the
is.
worst things when you make something awesome
So
and you can't remember how you did it.
I started
Well, yeah.
doing them, and I would pull up, and I'd be like, hey, Mr. Old GPT, go grab this recipe from meatchurch.com. Boop, and it would pull it up, and I'm like, cool. And I'd use that, and then I would make a change. Like I would use a different seasoning and stuff, and then I just tell it, hey, instead of 2 tablespoons of voodoo, I used 1 tablespoon of voodoo and 1 tablespoon of fajita. Update the recipe. And it's like, cool, done. And then it keeps all of them out there, but it also will adapt. Like every time I make a change, it'll just save that change in there.
It's a good
for
idea.
me.
There's nothing worse than, hey, let's have that again. I have no idea.
Yeah, I
what
don't,
did.
I don't know what I did. Yeah, that's terrible. And then like I started just messing with like temperatures and stuff. So like Pittman's times are always off. Like just use the same fucking smoker as him. And the times are always off.
It is
So I
always. I don't
changed.
know what it is about Matt Pittman stuff, but it is. It never seems like it is the way he says it's
His
gonna be.
recipes are fucking great, but his times are always.
And I can't-
Yeah.
I know. And then you're like trying to like get your Thanksgiving turkey ready, and it's like sitting there for like 2 hours because it's fucking done.
I think-
or it's raw.
You know what it
It's
might
time to
be?
eat.
It might be the temperature of where he lives. that is a factor in his times.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's got to be what
I've
it
cooked
is.
in the summer, and he's not at a different enough
Maybe-
altitude because I know high altitude can change.
Humidity.
he's in Texas.
What?
That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying, but I
know.
know high altitude can change.
Yeah.
it.
It's got to be something. I mean, he needs
like-
to post like, all right, I've done this, and these times and temps are at 90 degrees with 70% humidity. You know, whatever. I don't know because
Like,
it does,
like he did, or
Maybe he just doesn't know how to tell time.
Maybe that's what it is.
It's gonna be.
You know what he does know how to? Make money.
He does.
He knows how to make all kinds of money.
That's true.
And his recipes are always good.
They're good. Yeah, the times are just always.
has he been making food for the Cowboys?
Yeah, he's their official like pitmaster. He's been doing it for a while, but they just like made him like because he worked at AT&T Stadium or Texas Stadium back in the day. But yeah, today is the 15th. It's actually 2-year anniversary of this shit show we call the B3 podcast.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, Tanner wasn't here in the beginning, and then went all downhill from there.
Chris wasn't either. This is your Tuesday anniversary.
No, Chris
I was here. I just didn't want to be on the podcast.
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah. And then
He was
they
on like the
finally-
second
so much
episode.
better.
They
back
finally
then.
talked me into it.
Yeah, we finally talked about it like by the second episode.
Yeah, it was so much better with Mike. You're right.
You know, Mike is a talker though.
Mike does keep the ball rolling. You got to give him that.
He
Yeah.
did keep it rolling. The story could be completely false. I don't know, but it kept it rolling.
His beard's better than Tanner's too.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I told him I would just left the fucking part I shaved off on accident. Look,
Yeah, I was like,
Did you have a moment?
I was trimming and then the guard fell off and I put a big old stripe in. I was like, well, I guess.
Well, shit.
But I did like on the way as you're cleaning it up. What if anyone's ever had a beard and you clean it up? You like go like
Try different
goatee.
stuff?
No, like you're just fucking around with your wife. Like straight line goatee. I had just left the
flavor
flavor.
and then the
Yeah.
stash. And I was gonna stay with that, but apparently I wasn't gonna have any fun time until it went away. So
you didn't try to play chicken with her and see what was going to happen?
You should have kept it for a little bit. You never know. She might have got into it later.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, gets a real definition of it.
What was the first podcast? The topic?
Common denominator. Which still holds true. You should always look at the common denominator when you're researching anything. Whether it's a news story, training, whatever. Eventually they'll say the same thing at some point. Like I had somebody talking to me the other day about Dr. Mike Israel, one of his videos, and something he had said. And then we were talking about the Huberman podcast. And they're obviously different people. Israel is a little more entertaining because he says a bunch of off the wall shit, whereas like Huberman like looks like he's doing a lecture because he sits there in like a button shirt and just sits in
Always.
front of a microphone and like just like, and it's not a knock to him, but he just kind of like drones on, like where he just keeps talking.
He's a
Whereas,
professor at Stanford.
Yeah.
For his normal gig.
well, and Israel's a professor too,
yeah, but he's.
but he does like just says like off the wall shit that you're like what, but you know both of them have their own thing,
true.
and I'm sure that neither one of them are, you know, they're all talking about their thing. But somewhere in there, their shit's going to overlap to an extent. And that's the stuff that you can probably bank on being like 100% effective. The other stuff is probably their opinions. But the stuff that overlaps, and that's with anything, is the shit that's probably truest to form to everybody.
I mean, it's true with nutrition. It's true with exercise. It's true with, like you said, politics. Like if you're watching CNN and you will go to Fox, like some fact in the middle
They'll
is
eventually,
right.
yeah, they'll eventually overlay.
And then but then it's all the opinion around it. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first episode. I listened to part of it the other day. Man, the audio was bad.
Yeah, because everybody was sitting. There's a little
We're sitting at the desk.
sitting at
Yeah,
a little
desk.
desk
The
over
desk's
there.
still
yeah.
over there, but yeah, we
Yeah.
were just all huddled around that desk by the door.
But I don't know. That was for, what do you think? And yours was your weight loss.
Yeah.
That's got a lot of views
Back
on
there.
it. Actually, a lot of listens.
Yeah.
But we didn't start
Good
the YouTube
storyteller.
until later on.
Is that on YouTube now?
Just the audio.
Just-
Because we didn't have video then.
Yeah.
But
True.
If you want to go back and listen to the Heavy Sea weight loss journey.
Episode 2.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like episode 2 or 3, something like that. Yeah. I don't know. What was your favorite episode or favorite guest? Tanner.
I don't know. I hate to say a favorite because they're all. I mean, all of them are fun and
Yeah, they're all great. I think we've
Yeah.
been lucky. We've had some really like great guests. I don't think that any's necessarily better than the other one,
Right.
but
That's a good question.
I think my favorite part about the podcast is because Chris is not the most talkative over there, but he just gets you with things like fucking one-liners. You didn't see fucking comment like you're just like on a
Nobody
flow.
asked you to talk.
It's like on a flow, and then he just like zings one, and you don't even really catch it until you listen back. Chris doesn't listen back, so he doesn't get that enjoyment. But when the rest of us listen back, you're like that motherfucker. Just
That's
like
what I'm here for, the comedy relief.
throwing bombs from the sidelines.
What about you, Matt?
I really enjoyed the D&D beef, Michaela.
The one you were here for, or the one you weren't here for?
Both of them.
Yeah, she's got.
We asked questions for Matt.
We did actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think like that one I thought was cool because there was a lot of, at least for me, like now living where I live and like being kind of friends with one of the guys who raises cattle out there. Like I've been asking him questions and kind of like see how he does it, but then to hear from her and like her talk about like a bigger product or a bigger organization and kind of like all the stuff that goes into it. Like I just find that the logistics of it I find really interesting.
I think Kelly was probably one of the better ones because he has a really good story too.
Kelly's was, I think, really good too.
Yeah. A very, you know, like, he was in a dark place, and you know, the person he is now is a whole lot different from when he started off. So it's a good story.
I mean, yeah, the fact that we had to have him come back again, like
Yeah,
shortly
because
after.
people wanted to know more about.
Well, he's just really honest and open.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are still high, especially when people go through things, they're still keeping part of it hidden, right? And he was just honest and open about everything.
Yeah.
Oh, kinky.
I will say that with the D&D beef, and I think we're getting to a point in society where we're coming to like a Y, like where you're gonna have people that are going backwards as far as they're going like. I see a lot of people who want their own beef, right? Mm-hmm. They want to get their own cow, or they're raising their own chickens, or they're getting their own eggs. Like they're going like back in time a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then you have another group of people that are going like they're like if they could have their phones hooked up to their brains, they would do it.
Yeah.
Right. If they could just be like cyborgs, like they would totally do it.
Like Neuralink.
Yeah. And that's closer than we think. I mean, it's already in brains. So that Black Mirror episode where it's in your brain and you have to like, when you go to the airport, you have to show them your phone and they scroll
through your last like 72 hours or whatever.
To see if you're going to like put a bomb on the plane.
Is
or
that
what
not one of the most uncomfortable scenes to watch when like he's watching his wife play back her affair?
Yeah.
Like you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, that'd be terrible.
Is that more uncomfortable when they made that guy fuck the pig?
Yes.
Oh.
That was a fucked up episode.
That one was just like, oh,
and
okay.
the most fucked up part about that episode is that he didn't even have to at the end because the guy was already gone.
Yeah.
Like that's real.
Like he did it for nothing.
Oh yeah. Okay. But the whole Black Mirror, the technology, I just feel like we're like coming to a point.
Right. But I don't think those two things have to be separate. Like you could still want to raise and source your own food and leverage technology to help out.
Well, so I guess in Omaha, where we're at, I think it's a little bit different. But like if you get in LA, 20 million people and not a farm.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is what I'm like in these big cities, you know.
Yeah.
Like I think they're just gonna. I think big cities are just gonna be all tech.
Right.
I think all those people are going.
More people. I think it's more common to hear someone living in a city or growing up in a city saying they want to move to more rural area, a more suburb area, than you have someone growing up in a rural or suburb area saying I want to move to a big city.
And I think in Omaha we just have a little bit of both.
It's a sweet mixture here.
Yeah.
Like
So we're in a pretty good spot. But I think if you get in some of these major cities, like there are kids in Chicago that think chicken is just like magically appears. They have no idea it's a chicken.
yeah.
They don't know that it comes from an animal. They just think the nuggets get processed and they're in the store. Like,
Well,
and
it depends on the pink sludge from McDonald's, right? It's not really a chicken.
I mean, it came from chicken grindings.
Those things are fucking great.
And I'm still eating it. Yeah, those things are delicious.
Yeah, those are so good.
And I'm still eating.
With
it.
the sweet and sour sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys all know about the Wendy's nugget? 50. You can get like a bucket of nuggets at Wendy's. There's like a website like Wendy'sPartyNugs.com or something, and they'll tell you the participating locations. You get like a bucket of 50. I sent it to a buddy of mine who's a stoner because I figured he'd appreciate it.
You can handle it.
Huh?
I said he can handle it.
But it's 50 nuggets for like $15.
That's
You just get
awesome.
a bucket of nuggets.
Is there one in Omaha?
There's like 12 in Omaha.
that are
Yes.
participating. Fuck yeah, I'm in.
You probably got to call ahead.
That's fine.
Yeah, there's like a whole like website. It's like I think it's wendyspartynugs.com or something like that.
Wow.
Or Nug Party or something like that.
Nug
Yeah,
Party.
make sure
Probably
you-
a midget. It's probably a midget porn site.
Yeah, make sure you go to Nug Party and not Nub Party.
I saw this guy trolling someone on the internet, and he said he was talking about black education, and he said, "Yeah, the website is blacked.com," and I'm like, "That is not an education site." I'm pretty sure.
Should have thought about that one, guys.
Boy,
gonna-
he was trolling the shit out of him. So, yeah.
You're going to want to be ready when you look at that site.
Yeah.
I think going to Elite talking to Dave was pretty cool. I mean, Ed was pretty awesome. Like I said, we've had a lot of good ones, but talking to Dave was pretty cool.
Yeah, the experience of being like and sitting at that table. Like I said, when he said, "Hey, why don't we just use the table?" I was like,
Yeah, he's like, "Where do you want to set up?" I go, I don't know. There's a good backdrop. He's like, "Well, let's just use the table." Fuck yeah.
I was like, "Fuck yeah!" We're onto the table. It's like, "Oh yeah." Dave's like, "You all right?" We're like, "Hold on." Yeah,
Hold
I'm
on.
good.
Hold on.
Keep talking slowly.
But I mean, yeah, that was cool. But yeah, I think we've had a lot of good guests in general on. No one's been a letdown. I mean,
No.
Dave's always entertaining. Dave Tellefson, when he's on here, he's always entertaining.
I was only here for one of them, but the first one.
Yeah, Drew.
Last one was going to be that one.
was
He,
getting ready
he
to
got a little
spiral
he got a little wound up ahead of time. I was like, this is going to be great.
Drew Dober, he's always good to have. He's always got something entertaining to say. But
The
yeah,
guy from Porky Butts had an interesting story too.
I think Porky
He did.
Butts, I think Helping You Barbecue was good.
Yeah.
They both had good information. Yeah, we just got to try to get some more guests on. Reach out to these people. We tried to get Andy. Andy Frisella said he was going to do some podcasts. I filled out the form for like the third time. Nothing.
I was thinking, what with this clip, with your clip thing, like go through and do. Can you go back and clip everything?
It just does it for you.
Yeah, but
It does like 40
get-
clips or something like that.
I was like, if you're doing something with like Andy or something like that, almost like a highlight. You know what I mean? Like if you send him a link, if you have a link of just all the clips.
Of us just talking about him like we're trying to blow him or something, or what?
No, not of him, just of our show. I mean, you know how many people he gets? Like he probably wants to see who the fuck
I've tagged
are
him in a couple before, but I don't know that he looks at them.
He's got people that look at that shit.
Well, it doesn't say seen.
He does not have people looking at your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily ours, but like others.
Didn't Shields retweet something or
The bathroom thing.
That's the the bathroom thing, right?
Shields
yeah.
Omaha did.
Yeah.
And then I commented on Busting with the Boys the other day because they were talking about that Taylor, the guy that used to be an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Where they're talking about how he's lost a bunch of weight, and they're talking about if his wiener was bigger. And I said every fucking 10 pounds is a quarter inch, bro. But
Is that true, Chris?
Definitely true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I heard that from Matt Selling. Told me that a long time ago. Every 10 pounds is a quarter inch.
Yeah. Afterwards, I'm walking around like, look at this.
Swinging a hammer.
Sitting in front of the mirror.
Look at Swanger. It's
You don't even have to look. You don't even have to look in the mirror to see it anymore,
Yeah,
Chris.
exactly. Yeah. Before, I'd have to shave my balls. I'm like, got my leg up on the back of the toilet. Got a mirror below sitting on the toilet seat. Just
now you're like, look at this Swanger. It reaches the bottom of my ball sack.
don't have to do. You don't have to do that anymore.
This shit hits the bottom of my ball sack now. Look at it.
Got so much gut, it's pushing on your wiener. You try not to pee on your balls. It's bad stuff.
That's why you have to give it the pre-pee stretch.
Yep.
Now it's a whole new world. Whole new world. It's been a long time though, since those days when I had to.
Pee on your balls.
Yeah,
When you had a dicky do,
yeah.
when your belly sticks out farther than your dicky do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like we've educated people over the last, if they've listened to them. I feel like every episode has had a little grain of knowledge in it.
Yeah,
At least one granule.
Yeah.
some more than others.
Dude, Lane was a good one too. Lane was good about shooting.
Oh yeah.
That was
yeah.
good.
And plus, he's a scary individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got John Hansen. It's good.
Another scary.
Both
individual.
sides guys are scary.
Dr.
I don't
Jamie.
know. I think I think Lane's scarier.
Because his handgun proficiency makes it
Well,
worse.
no, because I think Lane really enjoys violence. Like,
Oh.
I think he really enjoys.
He could
violence.
kill you in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, like
But I think
I think
he's
John enjoys violence too, but
John
he's
enjoys
just a
violence,
little
but
bit
he's like- he's
more
a competitive fighter, like-
reserved about it.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Lane is just like, oh, is that violence? Yes.
Well, like the football player who's violent on the field, but like not violent. Like they're
Yeah.
violent in their realm, but
Yeah.
they're but Lane's maybe just violent.
Like, yeah,
As
I
he's,
think,
like,
I think,
wakes
I think
up.
he's a lot more comfortable with just like
He just wakes up and chooses violence.
yeah.
I can definitely. I also feel like I don't mind the violent stuff either. So that's why those guys are cool. They train all the time, always ready for something to happen. You know, that's how you should be. Always
You could
ready for
take
something to
Lane.
happen.
If, yeah.
Definitely not.
If you stay ready, you don't got to get ready.
You could. Yeah, we should set that up. You could do it. I mean, he's got a busted bicep now. Now's your chance.
No,
And
hits
he,
healed.
and he outweighs me.
That's still a little weak.
And he maybe, does a lot more jujitsu than I do.
When I was giving him shit about it, when he had it in the sling, and he said, "Don't worry, I can draw with my left hand too." And he already had his appendix holster switched to the other side. And I was like, "Cool."
Instead of a half second, it's 0.6.
Right?
Wasn't he half second like draw to target?
I think it was under half second draw. Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. To be the rest of us are still fumbling with our gun. We get shot already.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's. If there's anybody out there that has some connections to get us some guests out here, that'd be great too. Always trying to find some good ones, like legitimately good ones.
Yeah. Well,
Not like, dude, my brother's got this dog. Like, you should have him on.
What kind of dog?
Yeah.
That'd be the first question.
But yeah, we appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. Hopefully you learned something. We try not to talk for 5 hours. It's too much.
I'm listening to a 5-hour podcast right now.
Say it's too much.
I
Sometimes
don't think we
you
got
can't
enough to
listen
keep it
all.
rolling for 5 hours. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'd have to be drinking the whole time and get drunker as we go. And then, yeah, then he probably couldn't post that video, I'm sure. If that, by the end of that,
Oh yeah, if we would have let Dave keep going at the end
Oh.
of that podcast, that would have been like a 12-hour podcast.
Just at some point through there, you're just like recording off. I don't know, man. We're still going.
Yeah, we're live.
Why is a red light not flashing anymore? Don't worry about it.
Oh, it burned out. It's on the
But-
TV.
Yeah, let us know if there's somebody you'd like to see on here. If you have a connection to somebody, that'd be good. Let us know. We'll talk to them.
are we going to do a live, like kind of a live podcast for the meet coming up?
I don't know.
What do you think? I know we talked about it before, but
Too much stuff going on. Brett's a busy man. That
he is very busy that day.
I think especially with the
like
pros,
he's
strong.
busy like from an hour before to.
I mean, Brett busts
Or-
a bead when he says, "I got a shit," and just automatically starts sweating. But this day,
Yeah.
he's like, he's sweating the whole day from
Yeah.
when he wakes up to when it's over.
Yeah, and then we tried the live thing. That's got to be like tuned, and it takes so much bandwidth. Maybe sometime we'll do it.
Do you have everybody all in line for the? You got the announcer and everything all set up still.
Yep.
Who's announcing this time?
Banika.
Is she?
Yep.
It was good when John did it too. John was.
Yeah, John's just so busy. I just don't like to bother him. He's got so much shit going on.
but he's good at it.
Banika's good at it, and plus, like the lifters, like, because she can give them like some input on what to maybe hit with their numbers and help them out. So yeah, May 10th, the Ed Cohen Classic Super Meet. Come out and check it out. Be some good lifters, good strongman stuff. The other thing we're talking about is the creatine's making the comeback. I don't know why. Like it's such a big, like everybody talks about it now.
Cognitive. Like there's been a lot of research that's come out to show like cognitive benefit over like the time and tested muscular benefit.
Yeah.
So the thing about all these things is that it just kind of depends where the studies are going, and when they find studies that actually show some new information, then things come back out. Like HMB, like they had some studies.
On a big comeback too right now.
It is on a big comeback because they did studies of people over 40, right? Specifically over 40 years old. And over 40, it's highly beneficial for us because the HMB keeps your muscle from, because a lot of times we're still building muscle, but it's breaking down as fast as we're building it as we age. So we're just kind of in that same, we're always in that same plateau. But HMB slows that breakdown down. And they had done a bunch of studies on it on people that were younger. Well, they already have it. they're producing enough of it.
Gotcha.
So all those
Ahead of
things
the
were, so it was like, well, this is theoretically what it's going to do, but we can't get it to like clinically prove it. And then when they moved to older people, they could. So that's why in creatine, because they did a bunch of studies on women, because creatine's always been a male supplement, right? Traditionally, that's how it's marketed to strength, size, muscle, performance.
Well, there's always that stigma it was going to make you gain weight, which is maybe hold some water weight, maybe.
You may hold some water weight, but typically your body's going to balance that out. I always tell women when they're first starting it, hey, in this first month, like you may hold a little bit extra. Your body will get used to it. And a lot of women don't understand muscle fullness versus bloat, right?
You're not a follower of the loading, though, are you?
Stupid.
Yeah, but you take every day. Well, so it used to be back in our day, you would load, and then you basically only took it on days you trained.
Yeah.
But now, at least I just take it every day.
You should.
I do
take it
5
every day.
grams.
5 grams a day.
5 grams a day. And I just take it like,
Dry
except for
scoop.
Tanner takes 25
5 to
fucking grams a
20.
day.
Dry scoop it like a man.
You're an idiot.
You
I
don't
dry-
dry scoop it?
No, I
What are
have
you
mixed
fucking mixing it with?
my pre-workout, my NAC, my Pico 2.
I dry scoop it. I dry scoop that in my NAC at night after
I dry
after
scoop
dinner.
the NAC too, like a man.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I take other things. So I
Okay.
just throw it all in one cup. I don't
It's
even
not
know
my
what the
fault
thing
you're an
tastes like.
addict, Tanner. We're talking about other people.
I would just put it in your pre-workout or your protein shake. But you guys should be taking 10 grams.
Who are you? Trying to sell me more?
No,
Fucking
you guys should
guy.
be taking 10 guys. Oh, yeah. I'm getting rich off freaking creatine, 100 scoops for 40 fucking
All right,
dollars. Yep,
everybody's taking 35 grams of protein. Get it here at
No discount code.
come see me. I'll hook you up.
You think 10 grams?
I think 10. I do
At least 10.
I do like 10 to 15, kind of depending.
so you're telling me that I love some of these dosing things.
Do you hydrate enough though? I think you still got to be hydrated pretty good if you're taking that much. If you're taking more than 5, I think you need to hydrate more.
If you're taking like more than 30, you need to hydrate more. Like,
Okay, you don't think there's any?
do you know how much body water he has compared to someone who weighs 120 pounds? And you're telling me 5 grams is the same?
I'm pretty well hydrated, though.
I'm just saying, just body water.
I agree with you. So you think the dosage should be changed by how much you weigh, or
Yes,
by
it should be.
probably changed by your gender and how much you weigh, right? Or just weight.
Gender and how much you weigh, but most women, there's a lot of women that come in that are taking 10.
And what do you think the benefits are from taking 10 over taking 5?
So, so muscular benefits, ATP production for your creatine phosphate ATP.
If you had to put a number on, like, so let's say if you didn't take 10, let's say you just take 5, are the gains 50% more if you take 10, or are they 20% more?
All I know is that I've been taking 20 and I PR'd in my
fucking-
strict press.
Yeah, but I
That's all know.
don't think we're going to put that on the creatine though, Tanner.
It was equipped anyway.
Oh, was it?
I had elbow sleeves on, but hey, you did miss when Brent said, "Well, it's not the same because you're stronger than me," and he said that.
No,
to
no.
me.
He goes,
He did.
Why don't you put him on and go press 315 or 300
He goes,
Was it
"That's not the
300 or
same. You're
315?
stronger than me."
It was 300.
on his overhead press. I'm not a fucking 300
just in
pound overhead
general.
presser.
You didn't say you is that. Okay, Matt.
Is there video?
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't see. It looks like there's Vaseline all over the lens. Jesus, it's like
What were you doing before?
it's all cloudy.
I had to pregame a little bit.
It was just my aura, on the lens.
It's all cloudy.
If my knees look weak, it's because of the.
But as far as women go, they pretty much have, in a lot of the recent studies, they said anytime a woman is having hormonal changes, it becomes even more beneficial. So if women are athletes, or like having a normal cycle, that third week their hormones change a lot. So first 2 week of your cycle, your estrogen goes up, and third week when the egg's delivered, your progesterone comes in. And when those hormone changes happen, creatine helps out a ton as far as mental and physically. So post-menopause, this was an observational study, so it wasn't like a double-blind clinical study, but observational study. The number's like 60 or 60+% of women in menopause, post-menopause, are on some kind of mood-altering drug. So whether it's anti-anxiety med or whatever, right? They're on something. And they had like a 6 to 10x effectiveness on that drug just by taking creatine. Once again, observational study, but it's by doctors who are observing.
So they continue to stay on the drug and take creatine,
And the drug was more effective.
and the drug's more effective. So it acts as like an amplifier for.
Because it passes the blood-brain barrier, right? So that's what they're talking about. That creatine's really good for cognitive. It's good for your muscle. It's good for recovery. It's good for all kinds of things. Pregnant. I am not a doctor, right? But there are studies with, or just talking about in pregnancy, creatine's effective. They're just talking about natural creatine. You get anytime you eat meat, you're getting creatine. 42 ounces of chicken will equal about 5 grams of creatine. Maybe 48, somewhere in that range. So you're getting natural creatine anyways, but it's effective in that. It's effective in child development. It's effective in muscle development. It's effective in cognitive development. So that's why it's making a comeback, because they saw some of these different things pop up and they started doing more studies on them.
So go ahead.
So back when you said athlete, we can all agree if you train regularly, you're an athlete, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what you mean by athlete. So if you
fall into that category.
yes.
So that top end, so like your top end ATP production, like creatine, phosphate, ATP. So you have like oxidative ATP, which is just like oxygen creates. Like if I do this, I'm using oxidative ATP. If you have glycolysis ATP, which is carbs, glycogen, and then you have creatine phosphate ATP. That creatine phosphate ATP is your top end. So if you're doing like a set of 10 and it's a hard set of 10, like 9-10, those reps are creatine phosphate. If you're doing like a 1 rep, if you're doing something explosive, that can dip. And if you go from 100 to 0 and you try and get back to 100, it can take like 8 to 10 minutes. But that's assuming you went to 0. Right. Well, if you can keep it in that, like get down to 20, 40 and then get back up to 80, I think if you're in that 80 range, you're fine. But creatine helps keep that more full and readily available, because creatine just stores in your muscle fibers and then your body utilizes it when it needs it. Why there's really no point in loading, and you should take it every day. Even on non-training days, just keep it in your system.
So do you have, in the research you've done or your preference, whatever, how do you lay it out? Like, do you have a certain weight should take a certain amount? Like if you're 120 and below, you should take this amount. If you're 120 and above, you should take this amount. Or females at this weight should take this amount. Or
honestly, a lot of it is male, female. It kind of depends on like where they're at. Like if
they're at home or at the gym.
Not every 180 pound male is equal. They all don't look the same. You have jacked 180 pound males and you have fat 180 pound males, right? You also have the same with women. So it just kind of depends on their makeup, what their goals are, and what they're doing. But if they're a muscular 170 pound woman, they should probably be taking 10 grams, right? If you're a non-muscular 170 pound man, I would just say 5's fine. So it's not just, it's kind of weight and muscle, right? Because you also need the muscle to be able to store it, and the muscle is your benefit. So it's a sliding scale.
Yeah. So I was asking Mr. GPT here what it could find. And it roughly says at or about 150 pounds. This is independent of lean muscle mass, so just total body weight. At or around 150 pounds, you should be at 5 grams. 200 to 250 somewhere, 10 grams, a little more. And then if you're over that 250, 10 to 15 grams. And it caps out at 350 should be, it says 15 grams.
But do you think that's figuring in? And also, Tanner, are you figuring in like if they eat a lot of meat, or are you saying they should take, because that's got creatine in it also. Obviously red meat has creatine in it also. So are you figuring that into the 15?
I'm not figuring it in, because the amount of meat you would have to eat to get 5 grams, I think you can chat GPT. Yeah. I think it's 40 some ounces of beef and close to 50 ounces of chicken.
To get how much?
5 grams. And it's not concentrated 5 grams, right? And no one's sitting down and eating 42 ounces of beef at one sitting. So like you might not, you're not going to do that in a day.
No, probably not.
Now, how many people do you get asked about, like, is it going to cause issues with their kidneys, or Obviously, and actually I saw what we talked about, Dr. Jamie. She's talked about it also, where people like, and I let my doctor know when I get my blood work done that let your doctor know you're taking creatine. So when they see your creatinine levels are high in your blood.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So understand that creatinine is not a marker for kidney dysfunction.
But it's good to let them know ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, so it's not checking kidney dysfunction. It's just one of those things that if it's high, maybe your kidneys aren't working right. So, I know that sounds kind of the same, but it doesn't mean it's not definitive, right? So if you're taking creatine and you're worried about your kidney function, or if your doctor's like, hey, your creatinine levels are super high, you need to stop taking creatine, just ask for a cystatin C test, because that's the actual test that will check your kidney function, irregardless of your creatinine levels. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like my doctor, it really pissed me off. He had me marked down as like stage 3 kidney disease.
I have the same thing, Tanner, because your protein levels are high. You work out, so your body's always removing damaged muscle tissue, so that's always in your blood. Your proteins are high. Your creatine's high.
Creatinine,
Same thing. He's like, he told me I had stage 3 kidney disease too.
So they didn't tell me this.
Well, he basically said that. Yeah. He wanted me to take some pill that could give me a chronic cough, and I was like, I'm not taking that.
Yeah, they didn't even tell me this. They just put it in my chart. So I went into like urgent care because I had a fucking cat attack, and my wife wanted me on an antibiotic, and they're like, I got attacked by a cat. It was pretty fun. God, those little bastards weigh like 3 pounds and they're violent.
Mm-hmm. Their like whole goal in life is to kill you.
Yeah.
They're just not big enough.
Yeah, they would.
Those fucking claws will still fuck you up.
Yeah, well, and it was not declawed. So, so I went in to get like an antibiotic because you have to, like my wife was worried about it. And they're like, well, I don't know what we can give you because of your kidney disease. And I'm like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? Kidney disease? And they're like, well, it says you have stage 3 kidney disease. And I'm like, bull fucking shit I do, because my creatinine levels. So when I went back to my doctor, I was like, this needs to go away. And if you are actually worried about my kidney function, do a cystatin C test. Like I knew my creatinine levels were high, but they were the same height for 7 years. They were just in the same. Like it wasn't spiking. It was just the same because I've been taking creatine for fucking 20 years.
Same with my levels. I look at my levels and they're all, so there were times when I would come off the creatine or I'd take less protein and I would be not in the red. And there were times when it would be lower, it'd be higher, but it was never to a point to where it was always, it was never you can't look at the levels and look at it and say, oh, well, it's decreasing at a rate that we should be worried about something,
or increasing, or
yes, whatever, however you want to look at it that way. But it was either always steady or it would go above and then it would go a little below, then it would go always steady, just depending on how much I was taking or how much protein I was taking or whatever. You know what I mean? Same with the creatine, like bun. What was the bun?
BUN, yeah,
the bun levels. All that stuff was always weird, and I don't like that you don't look at the totality of all of the levels and then look at it and they just go off one time when you go in there and you get a blood work done.
And your BUN's going to be off too if you lift.
Yes.
Like your BUN could be, especially if you lift heavy, your BUN can be way off. But that cystatin C test, when I told my doctor about it, he goes, what's that?
So that's why I got to find a good, like I go to a doctor that like did powerlifting, did some Olympic lifting. Like, so I just told him, I was like, well, I take, because he asked what he took. And I'm like, well, I take, the vitamin D and K, creatine, this and that. And he's like, okay. So when he gets tested, like, well, I'm not concerned because you're taking this and this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's a super simple test. He pulled it up. He goes, oh, that's a really good test. I'm like, no fucking shit. That's why I asked you to run it.
Did he call you Dr. Tanner?
Yeah. After when I left, he's like, thanks, Doc. And I was like, you're welcome, Doc-ish.
Do you concur?
But then that number was completely fine. So when it comes to kidney function, the whole failure of it's rough on your kidneys came from basically giving mice the equivalent of like 50 fucking scoops. And then, yes, they had kidney problems. No shit. Like if you drink too much water at once, you can die. Like anything in excess is a problem.
Yeah.
But
for drinking too much water, it'll mess your kidneys up too.
Yeah. So
I wanted to circle back on the dosing that the internet recommends. Well, GPT recommends. So if you do based on lean mass, so if you want to get super specific, assuming 20% body fat, you should add 50% more creatine. So if you're, in this example, if you're 200 pounds, 20% body fat, 160 pound lean mass, it recommends that you're up to the 7 to 10 grams versus the 5-ish grams.
And if you're over 200,
Yep.
10 to 15.
Yeah. So depending on so the higher, like you said, the higher your body fat, you don't have to worry about going so much higher. But if you're a relatively lean individual, you should err on the side of taking a little bit more because it is stored in the muscle tissue.
Right.
And so it has a bigger impact.
So like I said, it's not just
doing
it's not like you can get some like weight ideas, right?
Right.
But it also is a sliding scale.
But it's also like, it's hard to overdose on it, right? Like everyone could go around and take 20 and you're going to use what you can, pee out what you
if you're going to drink, if you're going to take 20, you'd better be drinking some water.
Right, if you're a 160 pound male and you're taking 20, like you're gonna have to take a lot of water, but it is tough to have a crazy amount on.
I think for a lot of men who are at the gym, I would say 10 to 15 is a pretty standard dose.
Yeah, I think if you're what they call a trained male, like you, I think that means you exercise
3 times a week.
3 times a week.
Is
right?
a standard for trained male.
Yeah. So if you're a trained male, then yes, you should be in that 10 gram range, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And
And
you
then-
take all 10 at one time, or do you split it up?
I just take all 10 at once. It just stores anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm just not going to remember. I just know me. So I actually just put all 20 in my shake at once.
And then
So
if you want to
you
get,
take 20.
Yeah. I take 15 and then 5.
He's an addict.
if you'd rather get all your creatine through food, to get your 5 grams of creatine, you can eat 2.5 pounds of beef, pork, or salmon. You can eat 5 pounds of chicken.
So it's
You can
about
eat
a lot of
1.7
chicken.
So it's a
pounds
40
of
A lot
cod.
of chicken.
Or if you want to really get after it, you can eat 1.2 pounds of herring.
Wow.
like canned herring. Isn't that,
It just says
those are
herring.
the cans.
Yeah.
Like pickled herring.
pickled
Dude,
herring.
Pickled herring is fucking good, dude.
But
You don't like pickled herring?
20 ounces of pickled herring?
Oh, I thought. Well, it's like, yeah.
I mean, 1.25 pounds, so like 20 ounces of pickled herring.
Dude, I like pickled
That is
herring.
a lot.
I
So now-
dare you to go home and eat 1.25 pounds of
you like
pickled
pickled
herring.
herring?
Dude, I do.
I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe on a cracker.
Yeah, but like 4 or 5 ounces of it. Like, I don't want 20
I believe I
ounces
could
of
shit
it.
through
Well,
a
but
screen
throughout a
door
whole
and not
day,
touch a side.
like if you divide it up through a whole day,
But you're
I
not
mean, you
getting
have
your
to eat
protein.
20 ounces, so you have to have 40 ounces of it.
That's
though,
just for
if you want
5.
10
That's just for
grams.
5
That's
grams.
just
for 5
yeah,
grams.
5 grams.
Yeah.
it's probably got protein. Herring probably has protein.
I know,
Yeah.
but but if you want to
So
get
if you
all
wanna
your
get
protein,
10
you're gonna have to
grams,
eat
you
more.
get 3 pounds of protein, 3 pounds of herring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get after it, Brett. I dare you. Be by a toilet or wear a diaper.
Yes. Do that.
Because
Let
you're
us know how
shitting
it
your
goes.
pants.
You think you'd shit yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Why?
Well, it's pickled.
Yeah.
And it's in a can.
It's not in a can.
It's in a
jar.
pouch.
Oh,
It's in a
excuse
jar.
me. Okay,
Oh.
sorry.
Okay, thank
so,
Yeah, BPA free.
I think you're still gonna shit. I guarantee you're going to shit yourself.
I don't know. Fish doesn't fuck me up.
I don't think it's the fish. I think
Have
it's
you
the pickling.
ever had 2
Vinegar
pounds of fish?
and
Like pickled fish?
I don't think the pickling is what's going to get me.
Okay.
I mean, I think it would because it's a lot of pickling. I mean, this is again so if you want 5 grams, you have to eat over a pound of the actual fish itself. So that would be figure out what the fish weighs. So you're probably going to have to eat 30 ounces of it because it's going to be saturated with the pickling juice. I'm just saying it. If you want,
I mean,
to,
it's a lot
Get
still.
after it. Yeah, I think you should get after it.
But I was just surprised that herring was like that.
Herring, yeah, I didn't. I thought beef was like the best.
I think beef is I think beef's really is one of your best choice. Beef and pork are your 2 best choices.
Now, were they just saying like ground beef? Because isn't steak supposed to be a little higher?
Steak could be a little bit higher,
But it's- I mean,
it's
you're
probably
still
it's going to be
dealing with
like your
40
ruminant animals are like your best, your highest,
Easiest.
What was that
micro-
triple word score you just said there? Ruminant?
ruminant animals,
What's
multiple
that?
stomachs. So like
Oh,
cows,
Wow, triple word score.
lamb.
yeah,
same
man,
thing,
that was a
like-
good one.
They can
Yeah,
extract
fucking
more-
Tanner's locked up over there, right?
Yeah.
Just frozen in time.
I was listening to him say information while you guys are fucking worried about a
Sorry, I should have warned you guys that I was gonna use
word
the
that
adult
you didn't
word.
know that.
Were you working on your listening face?
Please don't ever do that again.
So yeah, take
Bad
your,
listening faces.
take your creatines.
But then to go to where the conversation went about like looking at the big picture. So I did that blood test through Function Health, which did some 100.
2 years of using this fucking microphone and you're still sitting too far away.
Well,
What
he
are you
was way,
talking about?
he had gotten way close, but I think he like had an intimate moment, so he was
I
like,
know. I started to get too aroused, and I was like, "Ooh, I gotta back up."
Also, his mouth's open all around it.
Just go, that's I don't joke. So did that Function Health, and then using GPT, I could take screenshots of all my results, upload it to GPT, and it would go through and like give me feedback that was ultimately better than what Function Health gave me, and better than, or no, I don't know if better, more detailed information than what Function Health and what the doc said, and gave suggestions on like the creatinine one was high, and it was like, because I'd been talking to him about training and stuff, it was like, oh, like, do you work out, do you take creatine and stuff, and it's, oh, this is probably fine, you should check it again next time you get your blood work and make sure that it's at the stable level, and as long as it's a stable level, like, you're fine.
So that's the thing about ChatGPT, and we were talking about this before. Like it's accumulation of data that all came from humans, right? So it can't do
Most of it.
So if it's a bunch of false data,
it could be false, right? But if they're taking like 1,000
Right.
patients with creat, you know what I mean, and they can combine all the data together and say, well, 80% of the time, this isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Like you're getting way better feedback because you're getting this conglomeration
Yeah.
of data combined together.
Yeah, so you get it all combined together, and like if you're getting specific information, like I could ask it, hey, where did you get your source for this chart that shows creatine levels in the beef, right? You can ask it for that source. The other thing I did with it was I said, I read Peter Attia's book Outlive, and he's really skeptical about statins. Why is he so skeptical? So it gave back all that information. I said, all right, who's one of the biggest proponents of statins? And it gave someone, I'm like, all right, what are their things? And then I asked it to compare the two and say, where does their information overlap and where are their biggest differences? And it comes back with that information too.
So I really hope that the technology, AI, and all those things together, because it's just, like I said, it's just bringing data together instead of having a political. That's the other thing about all these chat or all these AI things. You have to see what their political affiliation is, right? Like Google's AI was very, very, very liberal. So like if you said like it just leaned super left, not right information. It should be nonpartisan.
It should just be information.
Just should just be information.
yeah,
Yeah.
it shouldn't
So
be an
you have
agenda.
to you have to scrub it, but I think the piece that I wanted to get to was like you can utilize. So if you're out there and you don't have like the background information like you have about creatinine levels and what that means and these other tests out there, like you could leverage GPT.
Uploading your numbers and at least have an idea. So when you're talking to your doctor, that you know,
Right.
like so you have some information so you can ask questions. Even just understanding it a little bit is better
just
than
having
not understanding it at all.
a baseline
Yeah.
knowledge. Like you can leverage this, and you could use one of the free form versions. There's a bunch of them out there. I just happen to have ChatGPT because that's what we use at work too, so I can cross reference things a lot.
ChatGPT, I think, does a good job most of the time.
It's really solid. Like the one, and so thinking of Dave Tate's conversation and what we had with like when we were talking to him about, hey, like low level trainers or personal trainers are going to get replaced by ChatGPT. I was talking on there. I said, hey, I'm really interested in conjugate method. You know, what can you tell me about it? And it's like, hey, dynamic method.
It's like, yeah,
max
did
effort
Dave
method.
say that? And it was like only off by like 10 or 20%.
Yeah, and so it came back and it listed all the different methods, and I said, cool. And I said, I know, like Westside Barbell was big into it, and I referenced Matt Wenning, Dave Tate,
Gross.
and Seth, and said, hey, I know these three were like kind of big proponents of conjugate method. Like, what do you think? And so it came back with like, hey, here's all the things that they agree with. And I was like, cool. Can you do me like a 4-week plan for a conjugate method workout? And it's like, yeah, sure. What days you want to train? Do you want, and it asks like for your max effort, do you want to do just squat based stuff? Do you want to have any deadlifts in there? And I said, hey, I have bands and I have chains and I have a straight bar and a safety squat bar. And it was like, cool. And so it just goes through and like built out a pretty decent program that gave percentages for your speed work and all that stuff. And like, I think to have a machine program a conjugate training is way more complicated than like, hey, build me a linear program to just go to it and like say I just want to get yoked. So it was kind of cool.
And once again, I think that a person would do a better job if they're an expert.
Yeah.
Like if they're an expert, like Brett would do a better job writing you a conjugate program than ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But not everyone has access to experts. So if you don't have access to an expert, or if it's a way to get you started, and then you're like, okay, I want to go to the next level, because once again, it can only get information that's out there. It can't create anything on its own. It has no free thought. So that's just the combination of all the information that's out there.
Yep. So
I think it's a good way to get started. I think it's a good way to ask some questions. I still think like your local like experts,
right? Like
as long as they're good,
yeah,
right.
But if you're like looking to get started and stuff like this gets you started, and you start doing stuff, and then you're like, man, I'm not making any progress. Cool, I'm gonna talk to Brett. Cool, I'm gonna talk to Tanner. Same thing. Like,
but if you're also talking to a trainer, like, hey, I want to do conjugate, they give you something completely. You're like, you know nothing. I'm gonna go back to my chat bot.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was really surprised, like going back to the function health thing, the first versions, like you had to upload like a PDF or you had to have it like copy paste the values in there for it to do. But I legitimately just took screenshots on my phone, uploaded those images, and it was like, oh, cool. Hey, your cholesterol numbers are trash just across the board. You're probably going to die. And I was like, cool. Thanks, GPT. That's neat.
That whole cholesterol thing's a bunch of crock of shit anyways.
So that's why I did the panel, mostly because my cholesterol numbers were high and I wanted to know everything. But like every single cholesterol marker is terrible. Like, so the LDL size, I just have tons of really small cholesterol particles and they're all really dense, which is like the worst combination. I had the genetic marker for predisposition for cholesterol clotting. I was like, God damn you, GPT. Now I know I'm going to die early. Great. Yeah. But that's what I was really interested in, because I was like, oh, you're going to do HDL, LDL, and like total. Like that doesn't tell me anything.
Get a calcium scan, see where you're at.
I know. That's the next step.
I think everyone should get a calcium scan if you can. Like in your 40s, see where you're at. Because chances are you're not in danger. Right. But it's like, where am I going to be in 20 years?
Yes.
Can I do anything? Oh, do I just need to keep an eye on this? Because if they can catch it and they can put a stent in or do other things. I mean, I know people who've had stents in for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's whether you get caught ahead of time.
It's marking that trend line, right? So as soon as you essentially, as soon as you kind of pass through puberty, you start to have atherosclerosis, like every human does, right? So you're going to start to harden your arteries regardless. But there's a gradual trend line of the hardening of the arteries that will let you live to 100 plus. But if you have a steeper trend line, then it's like, oh, cool, I'm on pace to be what they call like the dangerous number, which I can't remember what it is. Like when I'm 45 rather than when I'm 80, cool, I should do something about that now before numbers get bad and my body is a little healthier and I have more time to steer the ship a little bit.
A lot of it with health, it's just going with a little bit more proactive approach instead of waiting till you have problems. Our medical system doesn't keep us healthy. It just takes care of us when we're not. And sometimes it's putting a Band-Aid on or getting you another 5 years, right? But it's never addressing how do I be as healthy as possible. It's just a sick care. Like we're not in a healthcare system, we're in a sick care system.
Word. Chris, you got anything?
No.
Matt?
Nope.
Well, we covered a lot of things there.
Yeah.
This is a long podcast.
But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us for a couple of years. Hopefully it'll be some more years. We'll see what happens. Also some good creatine information out there. Also, how you can use ChatGPT. But like, subscribe, share, follow. Even if you don't like us, we just need your subscriptions. We appreciate you guys listening.
Like right there.
There's like a box. Tanner's probably not even close to it, but there's a box on there. Follow us on YouTube. We'll keep putting clips out. We'll get some more Barbell After Dark videos going. And we'll see you guys next time.